Hi there, Tracy here with an art journal process video. This spread took me about 3 hours and I think about 20 minutes to complete. So this is going to be a fairly long video, but I thought I would share the process with you guys anyways. I'm starting with this journal, which is, and I also have these two photos. This journal is all about the influence of various different media on my life. So songs that inspire me or have an effect on me, or movies and so on. I have this just old book. I have several old books that I keep in my back room, and I just tore some pages out of it. I'm basically mostly doing this for texture. But I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do with this page. I did not have a plan other than I wanted that picture of the woman to be pushing against a wall. So before I got started, what I did was I just went on the internet and I searched for woman pushing wall. And I found a bunch of images, and I actually bought this one because it was a royalty-free image that you could use. And in order to get it without the little watermark across it, I went ahead and bought it. It happened to be offered from a company that I have some credits with anyways, so that worked out all right. So here I am just using what am I using? Liquitex Matte Gel Medium. And I am just using that to adhere the book pages to my page. And then I'm just going over it with the matte gel on the other side of it, just like on the outside of it, just to help it become one with the page. So I'm not only gluing it down, I'm also just painting right over it with the matte gel. Now, what I did with my paintbrush there was I just wrapped it in a baby wipe. And then I just placed the baby wipe into a Ziploc baggie, and I will keep it along with the matte medium because that way my paintbrush won't get dried out as I'm working. It'll keep it all nice and soft, and then at the end I can clean all my brushes all at once. This saves me from cleaning a brush and then going and using mixed media again and then having to clean the brush all over again. So I'm using my heat tool to dry that gel matte, that matte gel, sorry, on my page. And I'm not very patient for waiting for things to dry. So I'm trying my best to get it all completely dry so that my next step will work properly. My next step is I'm actually looking for a brick wall. And I thought for sure that I had a stencil that had a brick wall on it, but I don't. So here I am just looking through all of my stencils. And since I was pretty sure that if I had a brick wall, it would have been one of those Tim Holtz ones. So I'm just looking through to see what else I might have that would be useful for this particular spread that I plan to do. I know what I want to journal about, but I don't know what I'm doing from a design perspective. So I'm looking through all of my stencils and masks and just having a look at what's all there. And you see that I pulled out a couple. I pulled out some clouds. I pulled out these scribbly words that you can't really read, and a couple of other ones. So now I'm just taking my golden gesso and I am painting it all over my page. You'll see that I have a piece of tracing paper in between my pages. I just put that because it's a very thin piece of paper and it's a little bit larger than my art journal. And I just put it in between my pages so that the pages don't stick to one another while they're drying, just so that I can close up my book right away. And that page that's on the other side has actually dried long ago, so I don't need to really keep that there, but I'm just keeping it to protect the edges of the other layout that's behind the left-hand side. Just so that if anything wet kind of spills down, it doesn't go in between the pages and mess up my previous page. So I did the same thing with wrapping my paintbrush in a baby wipe and putting it inside of a Ziploc bag. That just keeps it from evaporating and keeps it nice and wet in case I use gesso again. Now I'm using Liquitex clear gesso, and I'm clear gessoing over this lady who's pushing against a wall. And That gives it a bit of grit, but it also makes it waterproof so that if I do anything to it, it's not going to get ruined. I also took a pair of Casey Neistat's sunglasses, not a pair of the sunglasses, but actually just a photo of a pair of sunglasses that I just found on the internet. And that was just somebody's picture. It wasn't necessarily copyrighted or anything. So I just thought it wouldn't hurt if I just printed that up online and used it. I'm not selling the image or anything like that, so I don't feel too bad about using somebody else's photo for this purpose. So then you see that I spread a very thin layer of gesso all over both of those pages, and now I'm looking for brick pattern paper. I know I have brick paper somewhere, I just can't find it. I thought if I had a piece of brick paper, where I would put it is in with my wood grain and ledger paper. So I looked in there and it wasn't there. And then I thought, I think it's Maggie Holmes, isn't it? So I looked in Maggie Holmes' collection and I couldn't find it there either. So where I'm at right now is I actually went over to my doll collection items, and I have a couple of papers that I keep for backgrounds for taking photos of my dolls. And I thought maybe, I knew I had some wood grains that I used for floors in doll photography. And I thought just maybe I might have a piece of brick paper over there. And sure enough, that Maggie Holmes paper was there. And it is a kind of like a distressed brick with kind of like a whitewash over it. So I have a sense of what items I want to use on this page, but I'm not entirely sure of what the design will be. I'm just drying my page with my heat gun. That gesso is still not dry, but now it is. And now I'm just taking some Liquitex Heavy Body Paint in Ivory Black, and I'm spreading it around with my brayer. I love using my brayer to spread paint around. It just gives these nice streaks and it makes it all smooth in some areas. And especially when you have texture like this, I love those little bits of those lines of white that show through. It gives it almost like a grainy film type of look. So I really, really love how that looks. So then I took a roller stamp that I have that just puts a screen texture on things. And then I used my brayer again, and that time it picked up some of the black ink and let some of the gray, I guess some of the white show through into a gray color. Now I have my Liquitex ink, and it's in carbon black, and I just let it splatter all over the page. And now I'm just picking it up and letting it drip a little bit for some added interest. And that just adds another texture. It's sort of like I'm layering black on black. And I really like that look. It just adds quite a bit of interest to an otherwise plainish background. So I'm using again my heat gun to dry that up. I just cannot. Oops, I have some oozed through the other side. That's exactly what I was trying to avoid by having that paper there. But that Liquitex ink is just so liquidy. I didn't catch it in time. That's okay. This is what an art journal is all about. It's all right that oozed over to the other side. I could just paint over it with white if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to. So again, I'm just adding some more splatters to the edges. I found that the splatters that I added the first time were all in the center, and I know that I'm probably going to cover up at least some of those with whatever I decide to do on this page. So I want this page, it's going to be a double page, and I want it to be a contrast between dark on the left side and light on the light on the right side. I'm just taking a baby wipe there to get some of the black that's not quite dry yet off of that other page. And yeah, so I'm thinking my journaling talks about how I felt like I was stuck on the dark side of a wall. And so I thought I would use my brick paper to put a wall in the middle of this layout. It will go right where the spine of the journal is, and then I will have dark on one side and lighter colorful stuff on the other side, and my journaling and then the girl pushing against the wall, that's going to be me, even though she doesn't look very much like me. And that's how it's going to go. So I started with this piece of brick wall, but that is going to take up too much. I don't want the wall to be that substantial and take up that much room on my designs. So I'm just kind of cutting it down like that. There we go. And so now that I know how much space I need, or I guess I just wanted to have a sense of that, I am now taking my Liquitex ink in Vivid Lime Green. It needed a really, really, really good shake because a lot of the pigment was sitting on the bottom of the bottle. So I just sprayed it on like that, and then I took a paintbrush and I spread it around my page. And this side is going to be more about my normal self. So this is how I usually feel and cope. I'm the kind of person who I usually just kind of like go with the flow. It takes a whole lot to upset me. I'm pretty patient and understanding, and sometimes that frustrates people that I don't react very much to things because I don't know. I just feel like life is kind of short. I can't be bothered with being upset about what other people do. It's just kind of the way I am. It's not something that I even really had to work very hard for. I don't think I was always like that, but I think I was always like that deep down. I think I went, everybody goes through a phase in their teenager and their young adult years where they're a lot more emotionally reactive to things. But I think most of my life I've been pretty calm. And so this is my calm side. And I remembered that I had this Heidi Swap mask that has all these pluses all over it. So I thought pluses for positivity. So I thought I would put some white pluses all over this. And I switched from a regular paintbrush to this kind of stickling type of paintbrush. It's for using with stencils. And so I'm just pouncing. I'm picking up paint with the flat part of that brush, and then I'm just pouncing it down onto the stencil so that I have lots of pluses all over the place. I'm mostly putting them on the edges because I know I'm going to put something in the middle of this page. I don't know exactly what, but I thought if I put them around the edges, then at least some of them will show by the end of this page. I don't usually worry too much about what I cover up or what shows. You'll see that you can't really see the text on any of the paper that I put down to begin with, and that's okay. I can still see the texture, like the lines in the paper from where they were. And there was also some dried modeling paste over on the right-hand side of the right-hand page, and that was green, but I just painted over the whole thing with my gesso. So now I'm back with my matte gel and grabbing that paintbrush again, and I'm going to use matte gel to just glue down this brick wall. And at this point I'm thinking maybe I'll just put the brick wall on the negative side, like on the dark side of this page. I just wasn't sure what I was going to do with the design, and I wanted to leave some room on the right side. And I thought if either of these pages are going to be smaller, I wanted the black page to be smaller because that's less like my normal self. So I thought that would kind of make sense to do it that way. So by having the brick wall only on one side, it cuts into the size of that black page and makes it smaller than the light page. I just have to dry that paint, and I just used titanium white heavy body paint for that. I think I put it on my palette paper that I have there over to the side. That shiny paper that you see there is palette paper. So now I'm going to cut out these sunglasses. These are, I actually don't think these are Casey's sunglasses. I think somebody posted a picture of their knockoff version of Casey's sunglasses. So I started to cut out this girl, and then I realized, wait a minute, I don't want to cut her out because I have things to do to this girl. Now, this is what I often do with magazine layouts, with magazine cutouts, or if I print up something like a photo from the internet that isn't mine. So this girl is not me. I don't even know her. So I want to modify her so that she doesn't look so much like a random person. I want to make her more generic and less like, what is that girl doing in her page type of thing. So I started by, of course, she's gessoed so that I can do all these things to her. I started by outlining with my black pen. That will help me see the lines when I paint over some of this. And I'm going to try to choose some translucent paints, although the first brush stroke that I make is going to be with a very opaque paint. So I'm going to regret that, but I'll fix it. It's okay. So sorry that you can't see what I'm doing over there, but I'll tell you. So I took some parchment golden fluid acrylic paint, and my thought was that I would paint over her face with a translucent paint, and it ended up being too opaque, so I added some water. You saw me do that, and then I just went and kind of painted over it with that parchment paper, or with that parchment color. Now I took some Liquitex ink in yellow orange azo, and I just brushed over her shirt. And I know that that's very clear and transparent, so I'm not going to lose the details of her shirt by doing that. And then I took some, what is this called? Phthalocyanine blue, and I painted over her blue jeans and her boots. And again, that's very opaque, so I can still see those little lines that I drew with my black pen. And now I just took the Liquitex ink in the carbon black, and I am painting over her boots. And what this does is it takes a photo and it makes it look more like I painted this picture. But I have zero painting skills. I am not good at all at drawing or painting anything. So this is my cheater method. I've been using it for about maybe 7 years. So very, very, very long time. And so now I just took some, I'll tell you what I mixed here. I have cadmium orange hue and what did I add it to? Oh, the parchment from Golden, and those are acrylic paints, and that gave me a tone that's, I guess, sort of kind of similar to my skin tone. It's kind of like a peachy, fleshy color, and so I just painted over her skin with that color to make her look a little bit more like I painted her. I can still see the very faint lines that I originally drew. I outlined her with pen before I started, and that just made her features a lot more bold so that I can see them through the paint. If I hadn't done that, then when I painted her, I would have had a hard time seeing where her lips and nose and eyes were. And like I said, I don't have great skills for painting, so I want to be able to follow the lines that were on this photo already. I'm just grabbing my hole punch so that I can safely get into that little space between her arms. So I punched it with just a regular hole punch from the office supply place, and that gave me a little hole to stick my scissors in so that I could cut around the edges here. And now I have this really cute cutout girl. I haven't put features on her yet, but she's basically a blank girl. And now here I am with my Superfine. It's actually my 005 pen. And I'm just outlining and adding in her eye and adding a little tiny bit of details to her. Putting some details on her boots and just outlining a little bit. You can't really see the black on black, but I still do it because I like it. I like that detail. Sometimes you can see it when the light hits it a certain way. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with those sunglasses. They're sort of floating there. That's not where they're going to live, but I'm just kind of thinking about where they might go. Right now, I'm actually looking through my stencils, and I'm grabbing that stencil that I grabbed at the very beginning with the really messy handwriting all over it. It's just scribbly. I don't even think it's handwriting. And that is a Stencil Girls stencil. And I love it. It's one of my favorite stencils ever. And I want to bring some pink into this because I really like the color pink, and this side of the layout is all about me and my normal way of thinking. I'm covering the stencil in pink mist. This is Heidi Swapp Primrose Pink, I think. And I wound up with a really nice negative image there that I'll use on something else. But I just wanted to really cover that stencil in pink so that I could then flip it over and use it as a stamp. And so I just left it there and let the ink kind of soak in as I cleaned up my space. And then I pulled it off, and the result is that I have this really nice stamped scribbly image. I'm going to clean off my stencil with a baby wipe. Man, I go through a lot of baby wipes when I'm doing mixed media because I don't have a sink down here and I hate running up and down stairs. So I cleaned up that stamp. I have that other piece of paper that I'll use another time. I just put it on a blank piece of art journal paper from my other art journal. And I'm just going to use my heat gun to dry this. Now, because this is that pink pattern is made with Heidi Swapp Color Shine, it's going to move around if it gets wet. It's not permanent. I just took a wet paintbrush and that black Liquitex ink that I had used for something else, and I just smeared some black ink over that wall so that it would not look so pristine compared to all the darkness around it. And then I decided I will use the second piece of the brick wall after all. So I am just gluing it over here. When I glue things really close to the spine of my journal, I am very careful that I don't make the holes any smaller than they are. So I have it so that it's right against the holes, but not covering up the holes at all, because I don't want to make my journal difficult to flip through. So that little palette there just holds a variety of different inks that I'm using as I work. That way, if I need to go back to a certain color, I already have a little bit of it there. I dripped some white ink on this side of the page just for additional interest, and also to kind of highlight and contrast with the black that's on the other side of the page. And now I need a little bit more interest. So I took this Tim Holtz stencil, and I'm going to do a little bit more black on black. And this just gives me a messy splattered look, but I can control it. So I do want to bring a little bit of black over to this side. So I just took a little bit of the extra overspray off of that stencil because I didn't want it too much black on the other side. But like real life, even when I am feeling myself, there's still dark things, and like there's still negative stuff that happens, and nobody's perfect. I didn't want it to be too much of a rainbows and unicorns on the other side and then dark on the other side. I wanted it to be more like my regular life. And it's not always rainbows and unicorns. So I just wanted to bring some of the darkness over to the light side just because that's the way life is. It's not all or nothing. I didn't want this layout to be too much of a contrast, and I didn't want it to be too all or nothing. I wanted it to be more about my personality just generally being more bright on one side, and I was stuck for a short period of time over in this dark place. So I'm almost finished with my background now, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing. Oh yes, now I know. I'm going over to get some alphabet stamps because I want to, it kind of occurred to me that I think I have some cloud stencils that I thought I had left in with my regular stencils, but it turns out that I took it out. There you go. So there's that stencil. I'm pretty sure that might be a Julie Fay-Fan Balzer stencil. And I was kind of thinking about the fact that like my judgment was clouded, and I was wanting to do all of these things like, get back at someone or tell them what I really thought, or there's nothing wrong with telling someone what you really think. It was kind of like specific to this situation. I wanted to do all kinds of things to make that person kind of like know that what they did was wrong and pay and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to put like judgment, something that kind of symbolizes my judgment being clouded by my upset feelings. and how if I had done what I really wanted to do, I would not have been proud of myself. And so I wouldn't have felt good about it later because I wouldn't have been being really true to who I actually am. And I'm not going to talk about the specifics of what this is all about, so sorry about that. But basically, I just was feeling like my anger was getting in the way of me being true to myself and handling a situation the way that I know it should be handled. Because I have some coping strategies. I'm pretty well versed in how to deal with negative emotions because I help other people do it. It's a little bit different when it's yourself, right? So that's what this is all about. So I just that was an Inka Dinka Do stamp set. I used my white StazOn ink, and you'll notice that I had to re-ink it, which you almost always have to do. My re-inker is actually not very good, so I need to get, I guess, a new one. But my main goal here was to just get the letters on the page. They didn't have to be stamped out all that nice. I just wanted the outline of them so that I could trace them with my gel pen. This is a Sakura glaze pen in white. And now I'm going to doodle inside of it with, I think I'm going to use some purple Jelly Roll Moonlight, a Jelly Roll Moonlight pen. So I just have my swatch book there to pick which color it was, and I grabbed the wrong pen there for a second. I had to remember which pen was the Moonlight one. I found it. There it is. And I'm just going to do some stripes on this one and some swirls on this one and some more kind of swirly things on the D. And so basically, I didn't want to color them in. You're not even going to really see these letters because I'm going to cover them up with clouds to symbolize my clouded judgment. So more stripes in different directions. And I think that the last one is kind of like a wobbly line. There we go. So there's my judgment, and now I'm going to cover it up with some clouds. And so I'm just going to my stash to grab a sheet of vellum, and I'm going to trace out those clouds with just a regular not Stettler, it's a Faber-Castell Pitt pen. And I'm going to trace every one of these clouds, and most markers work fine on vellum. You don't have to worry about using a special marker or anything. I love these clouds. They're kind of wonky and cool. They're very fun. And now I'm taking my my Liquitex ink again. I have Neutral Gray 5, and I just put some in one of the wells of my little palette there, and I'm just painting. I wet my brush first, and I'm just painting, and I want it to be a little bit see-through. The vellum will help it be see-through, and this is Liquitex ink is not very opaque. Some of the colors are more opaque than others, but even the most opaque is still pretty transparent. And so I have these, and I messy colored them so that they would look kind of messy like real clouds do. And I'm just using my heat gun to dry them because I'm impatient. And now I'm going to cut them all out. And I'm not being too careful about cutting them out because this is an art journal page. I'm usually a lot less careful with my art journal pages than I am with anything else, just because, it's all mushed together. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you'll notice that some of the vellum is curling up because I painted on it, and that Liquitex ink is just so watery. It makes a lot of things curl up, but I kind of like the texture that gives this page. I know that this page won't have that texture anymore once I close my journal and store it flat, but I really like it. I left it for the photos because I really like it, and I think that the clouds will probably get kind of crinkly from where I close the journal on them, and I think it's going to look really nice. It's the kind of thing that I think it'll look more and more beat up as time goes on, and that'll look nice. So I have all of these clouds pretty much cut out at this point. And they're all going to be up at the top and partially covering the word judgment. I'm going to staple every single one of them to make it look like they're stapled to the page. Of course, I can't staple to the page because there's another layout on the other side of this. So I'm just putting staples more for decoration than anything else. And I'm also going to put glue dots underneath of each of the staples so that they're stuck where the staples are, which makes, good sense. It makes it look more like they're actually stapled. So I have my glue dots out and I'm just going to put one on each staple. Some of those clouds have 2 staples or even 3 staples. So wherever there's a staple, I'm putting a glue dot and then I'm sticking it down to the page. And I think this looks really cool. Some of my clouds I'm attaching upside down so that they curl under instead of curling up, and that just gives them a little bit of variety. And by stapling them in 2 places, it keeps some of them from curling up so much that they look kind of awkward or strange. So this is pretty much the way that this page is going to look. So it's going to have the clouds on the top covering up the word judgment, and then the girl is going to be pushing against the wall. And so I'm just using back to my Liquitex matte gel, and I'm just, again, I put glue under her and now I'm gluing over her and around her a little bit to make her one with the page. And if there's any places that are looking like they're not sticking down, I just peel them up, put a little bit of extra matte medium under there, and then I kind of bring the matte medium over the top of it again. So I'm going to dry that with my heat gun once again. Meanwhile, the other page is air drying quite nicely. I really like the other page. It's looking really good. But as I dry that, I'm thinking about that brick wall and thinking that it doesn't really look like it's a part of either of those pages. It needs some integration. It needs something on it that's going to make it look like it's part of the pages below it. So I'm grabbing my marker. I think I'm going to grab my marker. First, I guess I'm just looking around and there's my marker. So I'm going to outline it to start with because you know me, I have to outline things. It gives it a little bit more emphasis. And now I'm taking just one of my regular Faber-Castell Pitt pens and I'm just outlining each individual brick. This particular brick wall was a bunch of really long bricks, and so it didn't have the interruption of the brick pattern, and so I'm actually drawing on the brick pattern in some places. And I'm going to do that on both sides, of course, because if you do it, it's supposed to be part of the same brick wall, so of course if I do it on one side, I'm going to do it on the other side as well. So I just skipped ahead to where that was done, and I'm going to add a couple more glue dots to keep my clouds a little bit flatter than they wanted to be. And now I have these sassafras letter stickers that I want to do my title with, but look, there's not many. I mean, there's lots missing, and there wouldn't be enough there to do my entire title because it is quite a long title. So I also grabbed these other sassafras letters, which are not really my favorite, but I think I might be able to outline them for added boldness, kind of like the other ones are outlined. So I'm spelling out hardest, and this quote is I don't know if it's a direct quote, but Casey Neistat has said on his vlog, at least someplace, he said, it's the hardest times in your life that define you. And this is the phrase or the quote that really kind of inspired me. I was stuck, like I said, I felt like I was on the dark side of that wall, feeling kind of too upset for my own good. And once I remembered this statement, it just kind of solidified my own, like just knowing what I need to do to let go, it just kind of helped me to let go of the hurt that I was feeling. So that's what I'm going to fill this page with. I'm going to fill the whole page with this quote because it is what kind of, I guess, rescued me. I wasn't in that spot for too long. It was only a couple of days that I was feeling pretty negative and yucky about the situation. And, I'm not the kind of person, I'm just outlining my letter stickers there. I'm not the kind of person who experiences anger very often. It's pretty uncharacteristic for me. This wasn't really the most difficult time I've ever had, but it was the most upset that I've been in a very long time. I'm usually pretty chill about most things. So I really struggled with how to handle those upset feelings, despite having pretty good strategies and, good knowledge of coping strategies. I was in this place where I kind of I knew what to do to feel better, but there was some barrier keeping me from doing it. And that's what the wall is on this layout. And so a part of me felt like I was justified in my anger. And I was. I mean, somebody did something pretty mean. But I think it's important that you don't ever doubt your feelings. If you feel angry, it's because you should feel angry. And if you feel sad, it's because you should feel sad. And doubting or denying your feelings really just leads to more difficult emotional problems. So the problem that I was having was with my anger. And of course, it doesn't feel nice to feel angry. So it takes a crap ton of energy and fills you with a lot of negativity. It was not very pleasant. So because upset feelings like my anger feel so unpleasant, the first instinct is to just do something to make it feel better, like to eat it away or go shopping or do something to just kind of impulsively, I don't know, tell somebody off or, be mean or something like that. Let the world know that you're wronged or whatever the case might be. There's this terrible injustice in the world. But none of those things are strategies that I encourage people to use. And so I thought maybe I shouldn't use them either. So I felt kind of like the anger was really clouding my judgment because it feels like one of these poor coping strategies would be more efficient than just working through my anger. And so that's why I have the clouded judgment there. That's kind of making me think that I need to do something negative to feel better. But of course, doing something negative does not make you feel better. It just makes you feel worse. So because there was no real possible solution to this problem that I had, I really just kind of had to come to terms with it. And in the foggy state of mind that I was in, I kind of remembered this quote from Casey. I'm taking some small letter stickers there. These are sassafras letter stickers as well. And I thought these were good because they kind of look very similar to the large ones that I used. And so I'm just spelling out the smaller words, putting them all these words on waxed paper so that I can play around with the placement of them. So I remembered these words from Casey that said, "It's the hardest times in your life that define you." And I asked myself, do I really want to be that petty person who reacts to negativity with more negativity? And of course the answer is no. So those words kind of really cut through the chaos and gave me direction. And pretty much instantly the anger was gone. All I had to do was just kind of focus myself. And so, of course, I'm not going to, do anything mean to anybody because that's not really my personality. And so I recognized in this moment that, this is one of my darker moments, one of my hardest times, as this quote says. And so this is a chance where I get to define who I am and what kind of person I'm going to be. Am I going to be the kind of person who reacts to negativity with more negativity? No, I am not. So that just kind of helped me to choose the more peaceful, well-adjusted type of reactions. And really, for me, it was just a matter of thinking about that, and I felt more calm, and I didn't really have to do anything else. So I just really wanted to journal that experience because I think that having it in my journal will remind me if I'm ever really kind of tested in this way again, or if, I feel like I'm close to losing my centered calm, patient way of being, that maybe I can flip through this journal and remind myself that this quote is so, so powerful for me. Everybody has different quotes that inspire them and that they react to. And so I encourage you to have to think a little bit about what quotes really influence you in the direction that you want to go, because you can decide what to focus on in these dark moments, and it can sometimes make a big difference in how you feel about a situation. I'm really experimenting with different letter stickers here. I have some, and I'm trying to use all flat stickers. So I have some Studio Calico gray letter stickers that came in a kit. And then I think these are Alison Kreft letter stickers that I cut apart from a set of, like a sheet of stickers that had different things on it as well as letters. So that's what these blue-ish ones are. My problem here is that this is not going to have the impact that I really want it to have. I really want, just hardest and define are probably the biggest words that I wanted to really emphasize, but I wanted the other words to be emphasized as well. So I'm going to go ahead and try to spell out those words with these more bold letter stickers. So I'm starting by trading life for this version of life with the better, more high contrast letters. And then I'm looking for times, and my problem is that I don't have another E, but I'm going to make an E. I should have just grabbed an E from the orange sticker sheet that was just below. I think that would have been fine, but I don't know. I kind of got it in my head that I needed to make an E. I'm saving it for the end because I know it's going to be frustrating. So I did hardest, life, define, and you, and now I just have to get the E for the time. And then, of course, the S, but I already know that I have an S. So I figure the D is that blue and that C is the same color blue. So I thought if I cut, I don't know, I'm kind of playing around with maybe using the D to make an E, but that's, you know what, that probably would have worked. And then I thought I'll use the C and I'll piece together, this is pretty crazy. I'm going to piece together the long part of the E, and this is going to take an awful lot of cutting and moving things around. But it is going to look like an E at the end. You can't even really tell that it's a pieced together E. So now, of course, the problem is that because these are outlined, there are black lines going across the middle of my E where there shouldn't be. So I'm having to cut off little bits of the black outlining and then fill in the missing bits with my marker. And there you go. There is that kind of, there's one black line there that I need to not have. So I'm just putting a little slit in my C, and then I'm going to go and take out that black line that's just in the middle of the center part of the C. And now, there we go. That looks kind of like an E. It's a Franken E. And then I had to switch one of the T's so that there were all different colors in the same title, in the same word. So I really like this a lot better than with the smaller words because what it does, off screen, I outlined all of those words with all of those letters with my white gel pen, just with my white Jelly Roll pen. And that just, it was just a cumbersome type of a project, so I didn't include that in my process at all, but you saw me outline the other words that were already there, so it's basically the exact same process as that. Those smaller sassafras letter stickers, I have double outlined them. You can see now that I zoomed in. I've outlined them in black, and then I went inside of that and outlined them in white, so that each of these letter stickers now have an outline in black and in white. It's really bold. The black part is really bold on the larger letter stickers, but it's just fine on the smaller letter stickers. Now, these letter stickers are getting lost on the page as it is, but that's just because I haven't integrated them into my page yet. I'm going to do that after I finish sticking these down, so you'll get to see how I do that. It's something that I learned in an art class that I took probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And so I'm going to move them and figure out where they belong before I do that, because once I add that, once I integrate them, there's no moving them. So, And I could have done the integration with all of the letter stickers, but I felt like it would be too much to do it with those bold, large letter stickers too. So I'm just going to do it with the smaller letter stickers. I'm going to shift them around so that everything looks balanced and just make it so that it looks a little bit better than it did at first. So there we go. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, really, this is an art journal page. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. So I want the word hardest, though. I want that word to span the whole length of the page. And it's a different color because it's sort of the most important word in the whole phrase, right? So what you do when you're in your darkest moment or facing your hardest times, that's what really defines you. So there we go. I'm just trying to get all of these letter stickers to stick to the page, which is, I'm not gluing paper to paper anymore, so I have to kind of use some glue here because basically what I mean is that background page has so many layers of mixed media and gel mat and paint and inks and stuff that the stickers are not sticking willingly to it. So I just took some glue pen to do that, to kind of glue down the little bits that were sticking up, but that glue pen is actually not going to hold it very well. So here's my first step for integrating something onto a page. I have this charcoal pencil that I just do like a shaky outline all the way around it. It's kind of like a faint shaky, and then I use my finger to just smudge it so that it looks like those letter stickers have a shadow behind them. And now I'm also going to outline them, and in this case I'm outlining them in bold black marker, because the other letters have a bold outline around them. So I just want these letters to kind of fit with the other ones. So I'm using my brush tip Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and I'm just outlining all the way around each individual letter, and the shadow is already there from the charcoal pen. The charcoal doesn't stick to every single thing on a mixed media page, so right here it's not sticking all that well, but it sticks really well to the drier parts that don't have so many layers, especially if there's no matte medium. It'll stick quite well. It will stick to matte medium, but it just takes a little bit more work. So see how even without outlining, that just makes the letters kind of like pop out a little bit more off of the page? And gives them, once you do the outlining, the dark outlining, it really, really emphasizes those words quite a lot. But I do this with almost everything that I glue onto a page. Every once in a while I don't, but almost everything that is glued onto a page has this kind of smoky, what am I trying to say? Smeared type of black shadow around it. And sometimes I'll go over it also with white outlines, and that helps integrate it to the page as well. But in this case, I'm just outlining it with black. And the bold works especially well in this case. I don't always outline it so bold, but the bold works because it ties it into the other letter stickers that are already on the page. And now because I did so much smearing of that black, I have to go back and make the white bits that I added to these letter stickers, I just have to make them pop out a little bit more. So I'm just going over all the white parts one more time with one more layer of the white Jelly Roll pen. There we go. That just makes them pop out a little bit more. Now I'm taking my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive, which is perfect for gluing things onto a mixed media page, and I'm going to re-glue those things that I use the other glue for. That other glue is much better for gluing paper to paper. So now what am I doing? Oh, I'm taking Casey's glasses and I'm gluing them right below the D and the E. There's a little space there right in front of the Y in U. I'm really sorry that that's happening out of frame. I just wasn't paying attention. I was so into my process that I didn't notice that that was there. That I was zoomed in there. Sorry. There you go. So I just put the glasses there. I'm going to do a little bit more of my charcoal pencil smearing around the glasses, just a tiny bit. They're already dark enough. And some white drips in 3 different places, or 4, I guess. Large white drips. I like to put drips on last just to kind of tie everything together, because they land on top of some of the last things that you put on your page. It just makes everything look more integrated if there's splatter that lands on top of your last elements. So now I just have to take that charcoal pencil and go around the girl and add a bit of shadow behind her. It's a very subtle detail, but it makes a difference for me. I like the look. It also tones down the white edges where I cut around that white halo, because as I smear my finger around, I'm getting some of that charcoal onto the picture of the girl, and it just tones down the white. Now I'm going to go around this with a white gel pen. This is my Jelly Roll pen by Sakura. And again, that just further integrates her. It makes her part of the page instead of sitting on top of the page. Now she has a little shadow around her. And I'll put some little doodly details on her sweater and her pants and her boots. And I'm just going to dry those ink splats. They're very large ink splats, so they're going to take a long time to dry. So I'm going to insert some photos at the end. Thanks so much for watching. I know this was quite a long process video. Thanks for watching. Take care and have a really great scrappy week. And check out the photos if you want to see how it looks now.